up, Metal Alert Nation? I'm your host, Killer Shezzer Star. Let's get right into news. Now, alright, so our first story. Fucking hell, why am I doing this? Why am I copying, I don't even, obviously, if it wasn't for Jake Paul and Rice Gum and iDubbbz, Keemstar would not be relevant anymore. Because let's face it, he got content copped. The only reason why he's got 3 million subs is because he stopped being a dickhead and, started making videos on Jake Paul while Scarce wasn't uploading. Other than that, Keemstar, he shouldn't be relevant anyway. Even though he's a very entertaining news reporter, so I shouldn't step to him by copying his intro. Anyway, alright, so what we're going to be talking about today is the insane beef between the two greatest vocalists in thrash metal and death metal. That's right, Dave Mustaine and Chris Barnes. To make it clear, when I said best vocalists in thrash and death metal, I meant that sarcasm, because I can just tell this is going to rustle a few people in the comments. Just wait for it. They'll be there instantly. Even though I've spouted some really edgy opinions, especially ones that would be against Five Finger Death Punch and a staple at hardcore shows. Yet so far, the only thing people have complained about is that I have an Asphyx patch on my battle jacket. So I really can't do anything wrong at this point. So why am I worrying? Anyway, so yeah, Chris Barnes and Mustaine, they're in a bit of beef at the moment on Twitter. I think, to my understanding, it started because in Brian Slagle said something about Megadeth in his, I think it must have been the book or something, I can't remember, something like that. Something Brian Slagle had published which had a wrong thing about Megadeth, and Dave Mustaine, naturally, he was very disappointed and had a go at him on Twitter, basically saying, oh, this is wrong, and then Brian Slagle said, sorry mate, I fucked up, and then he corrected it. He corrected the publication. And then Chris Barnes of 6 Feet Under, who was signed to Metal Blade, thought to himself that relevant piece of shit, Dave Mustaine, has been chatting shit to my boys at Metal Blade Records. Now, my irrelevant ass is gonna get myself some relevancy by piping up over Twitter like a big man, when in actual fact, if I went to any Megadeth show, I wouldn't say shit. So he tweets Dave Mustaine just in capitals, fucking asshole, and Dave responded with let me say this. Give me a minute to get into character. He's one with fucking asshole. I can't do it. I know he's got a lisp and he's got a high pitched smoker voice, but I can't do it. Yeah. So he says, Dave Mustaine says, well, it takes one to know one. I can't do his accent, but Dave said that it takes one to know one, which is, it's a fair comeback, but it's overused. So, there's no way Chris would get offended by it. And then they spouted some more shit, and then eventually they've called him an unknown musician from Metal Blade, and it's like Chris Barnes. Obviously, because Dave Mustaine is arguably a celebrity because he's in the Big Four, and so it would be understandable that he would have never heard of Cannibal, or let alone Chris Barnes. So for him to say unknown, fair play to him. But that definitely offended Chris quite a lot, and there was a few more shots, and then I remember eventually Chris Barnes posted on Instagram a screenshot of Dave Mustaine blocking him, which essentially means that Dave Mustaine, I don't even know when you're in beef with someone and you block them, what does that even mean? Who won? Because obviously if you blocked somebody on social media, it means you're not taking any shit from them, but then it also means you're running from them. So who won that situation? I don't know, but it's not about the winning. It's about how the fans are reacting to it that I want to talk about, because you've got Megadeth fans backing up Dave Mustaine, and you've got 6 Feet Under fans and death metal fans, backing up Chris. And you see the Megadeth fans, they're in their they're in their mum's basement Or that cliche is that stereotype is very overplayed. So I shouldn't really talk about that. But all right, let's change it up a bit. They're in their bedrooms. They're literally they're laying in bed. Laptop's here. Tissue's here. Dick's there. Dick's in their hand because they're lonely. Megadeth fans are very lonely people, and laptop's there. So they've got tab open with Facebook. They've got the Chris Barnes, Dave Mustaine Twitter beef on there on the news sites. They're commenting on like Blabbermouth and Metal Sucks, saying, Chris Barnes sucks, death metal sucks, all hell Dave Mustaine. And the other tab, they've got the Metal Archives open on the Metallica page, and they're in the middle of writing a bad review on, say, like And Justice for All, which is one of the best albums ever made. Even though I've heard it so many times since I was like 9 years old, hearing one on Guitar Hero, but even still today, it still sounds fresh. But so yeah, they're hating Metallica in one tab, hating Chris Barnes in another, and then on the other side, there are the equally as toxic, things like the Chris Barnes love I've seen here. They're not really supporting Chris Barnes. They're more supporting underground metal as a whole. Like, they think that them hating on Megadeth is going to give him more underground credibility, but no one gives a shit, mate. Seriously, no one gives a shit. You're just making yourself look like a complete twat by doing this. So yeah, they're there, chatting shit on Megadeth as they are, saying, underground death metal's the best. Fuck you, Dave Mustaine. You can't take a piss out of our beloved Chris Barnes, who he's a terrible vocalist. But yeah, that happens. But I just want to know why. I've just never understood why Chris Barnes gets so much love. I mean, obviously the first those early Cannibal albums that he sang on are really good, and he sounds really good on those albums. He sounds like a complete, he sounds like a complete, I guess, like monster on those albums, and it's great. But then, because his technique was so bad, he blew his voice, and so all the 6 Feet Under stuff to me just sounds awful. And obviously, I'm not really in a position to say that because I haven't really heard that much of it. And the reason why I haven't heard much of it is because Chris Barnes' shitty post blowout voice just doesn't sound good to me. Like the way I see I see vocals like a similar way to you see guitar tone, because you've got the old school vocalists that have got loads of power, which equates to volume, and little gutturalness, which equates to gain. So you've got people like Bruce Dickinson, Dio, Rob Halford, with really loud, powerful voices, but no distortion. And then our side of the spectrum, you've got Chris Barnes, who is like, his vocal cords are distorting all of the the notes, but there's no power behind them. He's talking like this, and literally that would kill your voice in like a year, maybe, possibly even less than that. So he's there with his awful technique and his awful sound, and people are, and now he's in beef with Dave Mustaine. All the underground metal fans are now praising him as their hero for sticking up for the underground. I mean, it's just a bit ridiculous when I think about it, and I just couldn't not make a video on it. I mean, yeah, sure, I've only got 23 subscribers, and I need a trending topic so my channel blows up, but that's not the point. The point is, I just think it's funny because they're attacking each other, but they both have got, because if Dave Mustaine ever said in this argument, said to him, you can't really chat shit about me when your voice sounds like a fucking, dag or some shit, and because then Chris Barnes would say, oh, you have a lisp, you sound like you have autism, and because it would just go at, because they're both the worst vocalists in their genres, really. Other than obviously for Dave, he's alright because Paul Bailoff is slightly worse than him, but at least Paul Bailoff he actually had the attitude to go along with it. He actually sounded like Like his voice, it was a bad voice, but it was like pure thrash, so it's likable. Um, so so yeah, and then there's also Chris Barnes that uses poor technique with his growls, and so it's just so like that they're just the last people that you would ever think would acknowledge each other's existence because they're both in different genres. So there's no way their paths would ever cross apart from at festivals where they're both playing on different stages anyway. So it's just so like crazy that would happen. So you've obviously got to talk about it. And this video, like, I mean, yeah, sure, yeah, sure, I mocked their vocal styles a bit, and I roasted them for their singing styles. But other than that, I didn't really add anything to the argument. So this was just a way for my channel to get big of a trending topic, and yeah, I'm gonna make some more videos soon because I'm back on that creative like wavelength for my mind. So expect more, and you'll get more. Peace. And also one more thing in it. My Instagram's gonna be right there, innit? Yeah, get that added in it. Get that added.